to the book of Mark, chapter number 4. And allow me to read into your hearing verses 35 through 39. These words are recorded. And the same day, when the even was come, he said unto them, Let us pass over unto the other side. Yeah. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was into the ship. And there were also with him other little ships. Yeah. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the water beat into the ship, so that it was now full. Yeah. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillar. And they awake him and say unto him, Master, carest not that we perish? Yeah. And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. Yeah. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. I want to draw my subject from verse number 38, when the disciples awoke him and they asked the question, Master, carest not that we perish? So I want to talk about for a few minutes, does Jesus care? Does Jesus care? You know, that question is being asked today by a lot of people, a lot of Christians, a lot of believers, when things are not going the way they think they ought to go. They ask the question, does Jesus care? I'm having such a hard time. I go to church every Sunday, pay my tithes, give an offering, and I do what I think is right according to the Word of God. And yet and still, I'm having all of these problems. Does Jesus care what I'm going through? And a lot of times, what we do is blame Jesus for the problem that we are having. So we're going to ask the question and answer it today. Does Jesus care? The word says that the same day when the evening was come, he said unto them, Let us pass over unto the other side. No matter what you're dealing with in life today, there is another side. Amen. And Jesus said, Let us pass over to the other side. He didn't say you go to the other side and I'll meet you there, but he said, Let us pass over to the other side. And so they sent the multitude away. Not that they rejected them or not because they were trying to get rid of them of anything, but when they sent them away, they were satisfied. All their needs were met. Did nobody leave without getting what they came expecting and looking for? So they sent the multitude away. And Jesus was on board a ship. Him and his disciples, they were on a ship headed toward the other side. Now, they were in the Sea of Galilee, which was about 15 miles long, 7 miles wide, 150 feet deep, 680 feet below sea level, surrounded by hills. So there was wind always blowing across the land, and then sometime it was easy for a storm to just pop up. You know, things come unexpectedly a lot of times. When we're not expecting some things just pop up. When we're going about our daily walk, when we are doing what we think we ought to do, things are going well in our lives, then all of a sudden, the car breaks down. The washing machine won't work. I mean, we weren't expecting that, but it just happened. Things pop up. Now this storm, it popped up. That's what it was. It popped up. There was a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship that it was now full. I mean, can't you see Jesus on board this ship with his disciples, and a storm occurs, and the thing about it, these disciples, now they had fished this sea before, and so this was not the first time that they encountered some storm, but never had they encountered one that was as fierce as this. And so what they were afraid, they were frightened by the wind blowing and the waves filling the ship up with water. So now watch this. It just popped up. Everything going smooth. Everything going smooth. Everything was all right. Jesus on board. And the storm came. I need to tell you that in this Christian journey, there will be more stormy weather than calm seas. You can write that down. But the thing is, as long as Jesus is on board, you will always have a peaceful ride. Oh, I thought I heard Noah said amen. But now, the ride is going to always be people. Now, we have the disciples here. They are panicking in a storm. The wind blowing out of control. The ship full of water. They were terrified, feared for their lives, while Jesus was asleep on a pillow. Jesus was asleep on a pillow in the same storm that they were dealing with. Well, Jesus had gotten comfortable. Well, why is it then that Jesus was able to go to sleep in a storm and they were fearing for their lives? Well, because the word of Jesus had been spoken. He spoke the word. He said, let us go over to the other side. Fearing for their lives. Now watch this. The ship out of control, full of water. The storm is raging, wind blowing, water whitecapping. Somebody said, you know, we are the storm, but Jesus is on board. Why don't we go and wake him up? So they went and they woke up Jesus. Jesus, we are in a very violent, a fierce storm. So aren't you concerned about us? Don't you care what happens to us? Do you care about what we are dealing with right here? Well, if they had realized who they were, focused on what Jesus said, and observed what they saw, they wouldn't even have to ask that question. See, these men were handpicked by Jesus. They were chosen. They were disciples of him. And they, not only with that, Jesus didn't say, let's see if we can make it to the other side. Let's get halfway across. He said, let's go to the other side. Boy. He said, let us go to the other side. All the way to the other side. Now, let me see if I can bring something out right quick. I'll be through on time. Now, the wind was blowing. The sea was raging, blowing up a storm. And the word said the ship was full of water. Well, if we got any fishermen in here, how many boats do you know of that can be full of water and not sink? They were in a storm. boat full of water, but they didn't sink. The disciples was on board. But now if the ship was full of water, the wind blowing, not one of them got washed overboard. The ship was full of water. The storm is raging. Nobody got washed overboard. Why? Because Jesus was on board. And anytime you got Jesus on board, the ship can't go down. And nobody got drowned. Does Jesus care? Jesus woke up and he rebuked the wind and spoke to the sea. Now, I don't know what he said to the wind. The Bible does not record what he said unto the wind. But the word says that he rebuked the wind. And that means that to scold severely. It means to criticize. It means to convict. So evidently, Jesus convicted the wind of disturbing the peace. And after he got through with the wind, then he dealt with the sea. He said, peace, be still. Well, after he took care of the problem with the wind, which was causing all the problem, then he said to the sea, peace, be still. So it's all right now. Just return to normal. All you have to do now is go back to what you were doing. Return to normal. Just relax. That's enough. Does Jesus care? If he did not care, he would not have spoken his word. And if he did not care, they would have drowned or got washed overboard into the sea. Does Jesus care? The question is, today, does Jesus care? And the question I want to answer is that, yes, Jesus cares. And I want to give you a couple of examples to show you that Jesus cares and how much he cares. He cares for you. He cares for me. Amen. Do you remember there was a man at the pool of Bethesda, had an infirmity for 38 long years. Jesus goes to him face to face. He was waiting for the angel to come down and trouble the water. Jesus goes to him and says, will thou be made whole? The man started making all kind of excuses. What I need is a friend. I need somebody to help put me in the water when the angels trouble the water. Jesus didn't even want to deal with that. He said, you rise up, take up your bed, and walk. He didn't say, rise up, take up your bed, and go to the water. He said, rise up, take up your bed, and walk, and immediately the man was healed. The bed that used to hold him, he's not holding that bed. Does Jesus care? Yes, Jesus cares. There was a leper that came to Jesus, said, Lord, if you will, you can make me whole. You can make me clean. Jesus said, I will. Be thou clean. And immediately the leper said, left that man. Does Jesus care? Departed from him. Yes, Jesus cares. Peter's wife, mother, you know her? She laid on the bed, burning up with a scorching fever. Yes, she was. The bed was holding her, and she was burning up, had a scorching fever in bed. Jesus come to the house. They told him about the situation. He goes into the bedroom. He lifts her up by the head, and he said, and as soon as he lifted her up out of the bed, the fever left her. And then instead of her being hot, she went into the kitchen, fixed him a hot meal. Does Jesus care? Jesus cares for you. Y'all know about blind Bartimaeus? Yeah, Timaeus was his father. Talking about the blind son of a blind father. He was on the Jericho road. He was out there begging. He was a blind beggar. And he heard that Jesus was coming by. And he began to cry, Lord, thou son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus heard the call. He told the disciples, go get him. Bring him over here to me. Face to face with Jesus. Jesus asked him, said, what do you want? Jesus was saying, you ask anything that you want. So I'm here to make it good for you or make it available to you. He said, Lord, that I might receive my sight. Jesus said, thy faith has made thee whole. And immediately he began to see and he followed Jesus. Does Jesus care? Jesus cares. He cares for you and he cares for me. I want to tell you about Jairus. You know Jairus. He was the ruler of the synagogue. Jairus. You know he had the little girl that was sick, laying at the point of death. He goes to Jesus. He says, Jesus, my little daughter is sick. She's on her deathbed. Will you come? Will you come and heal her? If you come and heal her, she'll be well and she won't die. Jesus said, let's go. So they go to his house. And before they could get to Jairus' house, the messenger came and said, it's too late now. The child is dead. She died. She died while you were gone. Before you could get back, she died. Jesus told Jairus, don't be afraid. He said, you just keep up the faith. You just keep on believing and keep on trusting. So when he gets into the house, everybody was hollering and crying and acting all crazy and everything, so Jesus put them out. And he took the mother and the father. He took Peter, James. He said, you come on too, John. And he took all of them in there. There was 7 of them in there with Jesus. You know what the number 7 is. I know you know what the number 7 is. Oh, said, now I got to go in the house now and complete this thing now. And he says, damsel. He says, Talitha cumi, which is say, damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And the little girl was 12 years old, and she rose up from the dead. She got up and began to walk around. Does Jesus care? Does Jesus care? You remember the widow's son, who was that name? He was dead, being carried out to the graveyard. Jesus was entering into the city. She was a widow, which means then that she didn't have no support because her husband had already been deceased, had already died, already been buried. But her son, her only son, was being carried out into the graveyard. The good news about this is that he was dead, but he wasn't buried. Jesus comes up. He sees the woman crying. He says, don't cry. Don't shed no more tears. I'm here. Everything is going to be all right. And so he goes to the coffin. He touched the coffin. And he says to the young man, I say unto thee, arise. The young man got up. But the miracle on this thing here is that this woman, she thought that she didn't have no help. She thought she was going to have to resort to begging because she had to have a need met. And her son was the only visible or meaning support that she had. And so he raised the boy from the dead, give them back to his mother. Here you go. You got your color TV back now. You got your big house back now. You got your car back now. Everything that you was missing is being returned unto you. The widow's son, that name. Jesus cares for you. Now, if you don't think Jesus cares, if you don't really think that Jesus cares, why in the world would Jesus come through the womb of a virgin named Mary to be born if he didn't care? Would he have went through all the abuse that he went through if he didn't care? All the beatings that he took if he didn't care? Jesus cares for you. He would not have taken those nails in his hand. He would not have let him put the nail in his feet if he didn't care. If he didn't care, he would not have died on the cross. He would not have shed all of his blood. He would not have been buried in a borrowed tomb. Jesus cared because he rose from the dead the third day with all power of heaven and earth given unto him. Jesus cares. He cares for you and he cares for me. Why? Because he loves us. When they put the nail in his hand, the nail in his feet, somebody said the nail held him to the cross. But I need to correct something here. It was not the nails that held him there. It was God's divine love that held him to the cross. He wouldn't come down. He couldn't come down. All you have to do is trust in him and believe him, stretch out on his word, and know that Jesus cares for you. And you know what? In the 5th chapter, or the first verse in the 5th chapter, you will find that they made it to the other side.
Good word. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.